Welcome to Repairing the Future. I'm Ed Kirk.
And I'm David Wall. We're two kids from Gaylord, Michigan who grew up watching incredible people quietly build something worth inheriting.
Before we head off in different directions, we decided to sit down with those people and ask them everything we wish we'd asked sooner.
Because we believe the greatest thing one generation can give the next isn't money or property, it's wisdom.
We're here to make sure that it doesn't get lost.
Our very first episode, we are sitting down with someone who needs very little introduction if you're from Gaylord. But for anyone tuning in from beyond our little corner of northern Michigan, I just want to tell you a little bit about who we have with us today.
Yeah, so Paul Beachnau has been a driving force behind Gaylord tourism and economic development for nearly 4 decades at this point. He's the executive director of the Gaylord Michigan Area Convention and Tourism Bureau, a founding member of the Gaylord Golf Mecca, a former Otsego County Commissioner, current board chair of the Northwest Regional Airport Authority, and president-elect of the Rotary Club of Gaylord.
Yeah, but more than any title or accomplishment, Paul's just someone who chose this community. He left for Michigan State, came back, and then spent his entire career building something worth passing on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. It's really a privilege to be on your show, and I love your format. And gosh, it just doesn't seem like 40 years ago I was sitting in your shoes and contemplating my future. And here we are, 40 years later. I absolutely love our community, and it's been just a blessing to share my skills, my life experiences with our community and to help it grow and to prosper. And, when I get up in the morning, really what motivates me in my career here with the Gaylord Tourism Bureau is what we do supports such a wide range and diversity of our economy. I think about people whose jobs are in housekeeping and whose jobs maybe your generation are working bag drop, full-time careers, managers and greenskeepers and people that own hotels. And I consider a real privilege to be kind of at the epicenter of all that. And that's really what motivates me. And, I'm blessed that I was able to move here after college and make it a career. And all too often over the years, when I went to school at Gaylord St. Mary High School, that's the first thing a lot of people said was, man, I can't wait to graduate and get out of here and move somewhere else. Gaylord's a small town, and hopefully I'm helping create opportunities so that people can move back here and enjoy the lifestyle that we have in northern Michigan, because it's pretty amazing, really.
Yeah, sounds awesome, Paul. So you grew up right here in northern Michigan and then headed off to Michigan State. How was that? And when you came back, was that like always the plan, or was that something you just kind of...
Yeah, I didn't really know where life was going to take me. I wanted to go to Michigan State. I had applied to a few other colleges, and I was kind of a legacy at Michigan State. My dad went there. My grandfather worked there. Both my grandparents grew up in Lansing, and I kind of felt like I had a little bit of green in my blood. I'm the youngest of 7, and, we were all scrappers. My dad was a social worker. My mom was a nurse. And like David, I come from a big family. And so, we were always scrapping, and my family were scrappers. So no one in my family really had gone to a Big Ten college. And so I thought that was pretty neat. And I started out studying political science. I had a lot of respect, and I still do, for our democracy and for our governmental system. And my hope had maybe been to be working in city, state, or county government in some capacity, with the thought that maybe I would look at becoming an elected official. And as I got into it, I switched from political science to public administration. I found that maybe there'd be a few more career opportunities. and I just really enjoyed the political process. But at that time, I was getting engaged to become married, and I knew after being down in Michigan State, I really wanted to move back up to somewhere in northern Michigan. Love the lifestyle, love the opportunities, I love the vibe. And I just, once I got back and started working for the chamber, I just knew it was the place that I wanted to call home.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of touched on it, but is there one thing, like just a couple words you would use to describe Gaylord when you got here back that you got back here and saw that just kind of made you want to invest your whole career here?
I think that Gaylord was, like I say, we were doing a lot of things that other small communities were doing. And I didn't really see us making, Gaylord always had this reputation as a community that works together, that gets things done, but it was really kind of hard to grow the community. And so I did a little research and I reached out. I started getting to know some other chamber directors. And back in the late 80s, there was a thing called the Convention and Visitor Bureau, which allowed communities to collect a room assessment. So did some research on that. There weren't a lot of areas in Michigan doing that, but I could tell right away we just didn't have the funds to promote ourselves, economically speaking, and we needed something to kind of really serve as some funds to get us growing and doing things that other successful communities were doing. So we founded the Tourism Bureau in 1987. We pulled together our golf courses, which we thought at that time, we had 6 golf courses, which for such a small area, we thought was pretty astounding. And doing a little basic research on the golf market, we realized that we were within 6 hours of some of the top golf markets in North America, and some of the states surrounding us had some of the higher player participation rates in the United States. So kind of was the perfect storm. All we needed was some marketing money, and we had a good group of operators at that time, and we literally set out to be a golf destination. And I think that's something that really put us on the road to success. And I've always believed in my career, 40 years, a rising tide raises all ships. What I've seen unsuccessful communities do is start to snipe at each other. And while, oh, you're doing this, and, they're worrying about what the other guy is getting or not getting versus, hey, guys, if we all work together, if we put ourselves out there, if we're all worried about benefiting, then we're all going to benefit. And I think, that's been why I've stayed in Gaylord so long, guys, is that we're a community that works together. And I've just seen a lot of unsuccessful areas. And again, it's where communities are sniping and they're not really working together. And that's been the model that we've had with the Tourism Bureau. It's been the model that we've had with the Gaylord Golf Mecca. And the reason we're still around is you can get so much more done by putting your resources together and working together.
Yeah, so Paul, you've spent the majority of your life in Gaylord, making a difference within the local community. Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you stayed away from Gaylord and moved on?
Yeah, so, my daughter, I have 2 children, Timmy and Abby. They've served our country in the United States Air Force. I'm really proud of them. And we were coming into town one day and they grew up. They've been to committee meetings, they've been to Alpenfest, they've seen the ins and outs and what I do, and I've taken them with me to travel to various work functions. And we were coming into Gaylord one day, and my daughter Abby was pretty funny. She was like, "Dad," she goes, "it's a great big world out there, and you've spent your whole career in a 3 block radius." And I kind of chuckle about that because, she has a way of saying things lighthearted, but I've had plenty of opportunities to work in other areas. Sometimes people see the grass is always greener and they don't realize what they have. And if you enjoy what you do and you're confident of who you are, by all means, get out and see the world. I'm not going to suggest that people move back to a community, but it was the choice I made because I like stability. I love the people. Like Gaylord has the most amazing resources. I could sit here and reel off. I could tell you every lake, beach, hunting opportunity. But at the end of the day, the resource that makes this community the best is the people that live here. and their attitude towards helping people, working together, and wanting to make the community better. And that's what really has motivated me to stay. And what's really cool is people will go away and they'll start their careers maybe, and they'll be in a bigger area, bigger community, and there's something that will draw them back to Gaylord. I've seen a lot of my classmates after 8 or 10 years, they're like, man, I just want to move back to Gaylord. I love it there. And it's not everything is cracked up to be in other areas. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, there's a lot of really cool opportunities in northern Michigan, even within like a few hour drive of here. So we mentioned earlier you're on the airport board for the Cherry Capital Airport.
Yes.
They just broke ground on the Gates to the Future airport expansion. And I believe you referred to it as something like the most substantial economic development project in northern Michigan in decades. So, like, what does the better airport access actually mean for a small community like Gaylord, even an hour and a half away? And how does it change what's possible for communities like ours going
Yeah,
forward?
that's a great question. I bet you both you guys have flown and been on airplanes more than I would have ever dreamed by the time I was, say 25, just because there's just more opportunities to get out and to see the world. And when you're promoting, encouraging businesses to move here, it's really important that they have lift for management, for getting to headquarters, for bringing people, professionals here, like the medical community, and a lot of your management staff are accustomed to flying. So having opportunities and reliable flight is really important to them. It's really important for our visitor community because sometimes we take our little part of the world here for granted, like, oh, we're not that great. But I can assure you guys, I've been to Dallas. I just was in a trip out in Boston and New York City. I've been down to Florida many times. I've done a little bit of international recruiting, and the perception that people have of Northern Michigan is really pretty unbelievable. They're like, oh my God, you live there? You live up in Northern Michigan? Oh my gosh, you are so lucky. And then I hear your generation go like, "Oh my God, we just want to move out of here. It's boring. There's nothing to do. We want to get out of here." So like, I feel there's this disconnect. They're like, "Oh my God, the lakes are. You can just go in the fresh water." I'm like, "Yeah, you can go in there and scoop it out. Like, I could throw my kayak on the back of my truck, and I could be out kayaking in 5 minutes on the most beautiful lake that you've ever seen, and we could go fly fishing. We can go out there in a half hour. We can catch." And then come back and have dinner. And they're just like, oh my God, you can do that. So, what I'm getting at is sometimes we don't realize how important it is for our visitors and for our travel community. Like, we really have something. We have nonstop flights to 19 communities. We have nonstop flights to Dallas, to Houston, to Charlotte, to Atlanta, to Philadelphia, to Boston, to New York, to parts of Florida where the nonstops are really important because you don't have to have a layover in Detroit or Chicago, and just jumping on a plane, getting to Traverse City, and you're here in a couple of hours is pretty cool. The third reason that it's important is that it allows us to maintain our connections with our family, with our brothers, with our siblings, with our aunts and uncles and our grandparents. Like, we can live right here and still maintain those connections by having reliable, affordable airlift. So really, it accomplishes three things and will allow all of Northern Michigan to continue to grow and continue to expand those nonstop flights. And that's really, I feel like it's very, very substantial.
Yeah, so again, in talking about Gaylord and community, one of the ways you have that has grown in Gaylord obviously has been through golf. And many different golf courses. But Gaylord's pretty much known as a golf mecca at this point. What does the sport of golf mean to you in terms of bringing everybody together, bringing the community of Gaylord together?
Yeah, so I'm not a very good golfer personally. I don't wake up and think about golf like a lot of people do, but golf has always been a really neat activity as a sport because anyone can play, any age, any size. You can play with your grandparents. It's a great family sport. You can play with your dad. You can play with your mom. It's an activity where you're out there spending quality time together. You're enjoying some recreational time, you're enjoying nature. And what we're finding is that golf is at a really sweet spot right now in terms of its growth because during COVID, it was one of the activities that people could do outdoors. It was safe. People could be together. And we've seen this explosion of golf, people that started on what they call off golf course experiences like simulators and Top Golf, and those things are now translating into on course rounds. Particularly the younger generation is the fastest growing part of the sport right now because some of those traditions like playing music when you're out playing, it's very fashionable, it's fun, you're outdoors. 9-hole rounds are getting important right now because a lot of people like they don't have the time to play an 18-hole round. And we're seeing couples in women and diverse people playing golf like never before. And that's really substantial because people are planning trips based around golf. And the one thing that's different about golf than other sports is you need a tee time. We're finding the tee time drives the vacation. You need to have a set time to play. You just can't go up, walk up and get a lift ticket like you're skiing. Like you've got to be assured that you're going to have a tee time. So we're even finding that people are making their tee times first and then they're booking their room. But it's really become an important part of travel because it's a great way to spend time out of doors, spend time together, have some recreation, get a little exercise, enjoy fresh air, and anyone can play the game. So it's completely non-discriminatory.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of those things you said about like the big golf trips and stuff, I worked backdrop last year and saw a lot of it. And it was just amazing to see people come off the course just having a great time. These group of young guys, and then they're like, they can't wait to get back here for their trip next year. It's already planned and stuff. So I mean, that's great to see, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and kind of going a different way, but still based off of your experiences, we're obviously both headed off to college next year. And a lot of young people from small towns face that exact decision of like having to stay home and stay close to your roots or to go out to sometimes get different degrees and stuff. What would you tell a student faced with those two unique choices?
Well, here's the advice that I would give that generation. And this is the advice I gave my kids when they were in you guys' shoes and they wanted to get out and see the world. I would always tell them, be open-minded about the experiences that are in front of you. I mean, keep your roots, keep what grounds you, keep things that are important to you. But in terms of people and experiences and opportunities, don't be closed-minded because sometimes you don't find the right thing, but the right thing finds you. And if you're closed-minded, if you have this premonition like, oh, I'm not going to do that. And I don't mean by compromising your principles or compromising who you are as a person. I mean it in terms of new travel experiences, new classes that you might be offered. If it sounds interesting, we usually tend to gravitate in our lives to those things that we find interesting. And what might be interesting to you, Nate, might have no interest to David, but be open-minded because things are way different than when you're at the halls of St. Mary's and you're like, oh, I think I want to do this. And you get out there and you're like, I don't want to do that. That's okay. Don't feel like locked into, oh my gosh, I have to do this because it's going to make my parents happy or it's going to make my grandpa proud. If you're just don't want to do it, then you need to pursue what your passions are. And more often than not, if you're open-minded about that, a lot of times the right thing will find you.
Yeah, and obviously both me and David are from a rural community. We're students from a very, very small school. So just what do you see that sets rural students apart from that are raised in like an urban environment?
I think sometimes there's this premonition maybe or this predeceived notion that maybe kids from metropolitan areas, maybe they're smarter. I think sometimes there's this premise, oh my gosh, you're from Northern Michigan, do we got to help you with your reading? Kids up here are as smart and as bright as, I've seen what happens at St. Mary's in terms of kids that go to college and go on to these really prestigious universities are every bit as smart, have every bit the opportunity as kids from metro schools. I think that's really important. And we also, because we didn't grow up in a big metro area, doesn't mean we don't have experiences they envy from us. Like maybe we kids up in Northern Michigan, can't go to some big concert every weekend, but have you ever seen a sunset over at Otsego Lake that you can see every single night? Or have you been walking up in the Pigeon River Country State Forest and seen nature like you'll never see it? Because it might not be a metropolitan experience, that doesn't mean it's not an experience that can affect your life in a very profound way. So sometimes I feel like rural experiences can be every bit as great. They're just different. They're not better or worse than some of the experiences that kids get in the bigger cities. I think we have every bit as much diversity up here. We see things a little bit differently up here. So I would just say there's no shame. Don't feel lesser because you grew up in a rural community, because you're every bit as smart. And you're going to find at the end of the day, there's so many kids that are like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done that. My daughter's got friends that are just blown away. She knows how to do so many things. She knows how to snowboard and ski and ride a motorbike, and she can drop a kayak in the water without thinking twice about it. She can do all these things, and she'll be these Metros kids are like, oh my God, we have never, how do you know how to do all this stuff? We have no idea how to do that, So, there's different experiences. So don't ever think less of your experiences.
No, that's great. I think that's a great way to put it. Obviously, we both spend plenty of time outside in our lives, taking advantage of what Northern Michigan provides us. But before we let you go, we have one last thing for you, and we ask everyone that sits down with us the same question.
Yeah, so you spent 40 years obviously waking up every single day and doing something to make this community and its future better. See what works, what doesn't, what gets lost, and what gets forgotten.
So with all that behind you, what's one thing that we could do today to wake up to a better world tomorrow?
If I could eliminate anything from the face of the earth, it would be litter. And if you are ever with me going somewhere and I'm walking across a parking lot, if I'm walking into my office, sometimes I will pull over my car if I see a plastic bag hanging in a branch. I cannot stand litter. You can go to the most breathtaking parts of the world and see beautiful scenes, and then you look over and you see plastic bottle or a can, and it's like we can't go anywhere without seeing like some human footprint. So I hate litter, and it's really easy. And I was never so proud of my daughter. We went up to the Pigeon River before. She showed me this new cool spot in a sinkhole lake, and on our way down there, she bent over and picked up a couple of pieces of garbage. I didn't ask her. She just seen me do it so many times. We just picked it up, took it back to our car, and then we put it in its proper place. But it's really easy to pick up litter because no one's if you're like, well, someone's going to do it. Well, who's someone? It might as well be me. So I hate litter, and I will pick it up in my parking lot every day. I will stop, and the staff in the office, I'll always come in with a handful of stuff because I just wanted it to look nice. That's it.
It's sad to see just how much these beautiful landscapes and everything we have just get trashed by just disregard for them, honestly. But yeah, that's exactly why we started that show. We're going to get out there. We're going to pick up some litter, aren't we, Nate?
Yeah, we are. For sure. Yep.
Grab your classmates, find a spot, and say, hey, we're meeting after school. We're going to pick up. And what's crazy? The next time you go by it, you'll be like, oh my God, look at how nice that looks. Isn't that amazing? It's just like, and you don't need any prodding. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like you're going to change the world, but you changed that little part of the world by just going out there, and you're just want to go by like, now look at how nice that looks. You can see the green grass and the trees, and it looks really nice. So super easy. Anyone can do it.
Yeah, well, there you have it, Paul. Thanks so much for being our first guest, genuinely, and showing us, what it's like doing what you do. Thank you.
If this conversation moved you today, please share it with someone in your community, a neighbor, a parent, a young person trying to figure out where they belong. These stories deserve to be heard. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Inheriting the Future Podcast and wherever you listen to your favorite shows. We are inheriting the future, and we'll see you next time.
Wow.